Uncouth Radio, we are live, we are in the air, we are in the house, and the house is packed. I'm loving everybody's nicknames today. We got Robert FDT Mars, we got By Any Means Necessary, we got Black Lives Matter, and Sheila. Yeah. This show is very different than what we have been talking about the past couple of days, very different than what we thought we had programmed. Of course, because of the shooting, thank God it wasn't another murder, but the shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. Quincy, just break down to us what you saw and what happened and what you know so far.
Well, there was a domestic violence call put out, and the police arrived, and I guess while trying to sort out what was going on, who was involved in the domestic violence, because it was two women and a guy who we know now as Jacob Blake. I guess at some point they tried to detain him. There was a scuffle on the ground. He gets up. He walks around the passenger side to the front of the car. He opened up his driver's side door. As he enters his car, the officers pulling on his T-shirt and decides to shoot him 7 times in the back. So that's where we at. As far as my take on it, I mean, of course, you're going to have people who's going to say he should have yielded to the officer. And, yeah, he should have. Because a lot of times when you get to domestic violence calls, especially when there's more than 2 people involved, you got to try to sort out who's your suspect, who's not your suspect. And, of course, just trying to go into Jacob Blake's mind, if you're the one breaking up the fight, you probably wondering why the fuck I'm being detained, in the first place, So I could see why the officers thought maybe he should, they probably should detain him, and I could see why he felt like he shouldn't have been detained. With all that's being said and done, even though he didn't yield to their detention, they still are responsible of taking every precaution to protect and save his life, and doing everything possible they can to de-escalate the situation and either put him in cuff or upper hand him without using the least amount of force as possible. Lethal force should be your last option, not your first, not your second, not your third, not your fourth, not your very last option. And it should be only used when you feel like your life is in immediate danger. The reason why I don't think that was the case in this scenario, because while they were scuffling with him on the ground, when he gets up, their guns are already out towards his back. Police don't scuffle with people with guns on the ground. So that lets me know right there, he most likely wasn't armed when they were scuffling with him on the ground. And at that point, they took their guns out with his back already turned. And what that kind of told me right there is that they didn't have no intentions from that point on of having any more physical contact with him. And that's part of the job when you're a police officer. Sometimes you have to get into some fights. You might get touched up, but you don't go by hood rules where dudes in the hood, if they can't whip your ass, they shoot you. Police officers are not they shouldn't have those rules, but that tend to be what it is at this point. There were several times where they could attack on him from the back. His back, especially when he walked in front of the car, his back was completely turned to them. They still had their guns out. And they were still close enough to put him in an arm bar, take him down to the ground or whatever. So by the time he gets to the car, he reaches into the car or he's trying to get in the car. If an officer thought he was safe enough to grab his shirt, he was safe enough to grab completely and take him down to the ground. So to unload 7 shots, and I say this all the time, you're accountable for each shot. So he have to explain why in each shot he thought his life was in danger, why that man's back was turned towards him. And so what we saw, in my opinion, was downright attempt murder. There's nothing else to really say about it. There were several things they could have done that could have prevented that situation that they didn't do because they was too scared to go hands-on with him. And I think that's the case in a lot of these shootings. They're afraid to fight. They're afraid to get on the ground and get dirty. And they resort to shit. And that's what happens when you give scary people guns. They shoot.
Thank you, Q. I wanted to ask you first because I know you would be able to tell us from a procedural standpoint, because I know there's sometimes when these situations happen, you can see things that, from a law enforcement perspective that we can't see and we don't see. And, we just like to make sure we give our audience all the information that they can have to make the best decisions with the information that's been given. And, like you said, and it's crazy because I'm still seeing, this is where I tell you the country is not where we think it is. And when I say we, I'm talking about as a whole, not us, because we know what it is. But when I still see people justifying what happened to him, when I still see people justifying what came after, which we'll get into next, of the 17-year-old white boy driving from another state with an illegal AR-15, walking by those exact same police force that shot that black man in the back 7 times, let a white boy walk around for 4 hours with an illegal AR-15 with 0 questions asked. So all the times people try to use those are 2 different departments. When you talk about, this black person having this and this white, you can't use that, because in this instance, within 24 hours, the exact same department showed you how they treat unarmed black men and how they treat armed white men in the exact same instance, exact same department. So,
and Dane, to go to your point, this is why when people bring this up and they're like, they need more training. This is not a training issue. This is a character issue.
Bitches.
The type of people they hire. Right. Folks, look, I tell y'all right now, I felt like I was one of the best trained officers coming out. I thought the training was good. Could have been more? Yeah, you could always have more training when people's freedom and life is in your hand. There's no limited on your training. But I thought I was pretty well trained. But it's the type of folks that they give that power to. It's the type of folks that they targeted, that they hire. I can tell you right now, my former department, most of the people grew up in Orange County. The Ku Klux Klan was recruiting folks in Orange County, 2 years ago that was? So that lets you know how comfortable people are with racism in that part of the state. And you have a department. So what we know, based on your example, Dane, this is not a training issue.
Right.
So because you had people yelling, he just shot a man. He just shot a man. And they drove right by him. They drove right by him. And they were responding to shots fired. So you responded to shots fired. Here's a man with an AR-15 walking towards you with his hands up. People are pointing at him and telling you he just shot a man, and you drove right by him. But a man who has no weapon in his hands, your gun is already out with his back turned as he walking away. So this is not a training issue. It's the character, it's the people who they hire. And based on the chief, the shit starts at the top based on the statements he made today.
I think Q also is.
Didn't they give him water too?
Let me re-answer the question real quick. Is there additional training once you pass the academy? Yeah, so they have, they call it advanced officer training. It's actually once a quarter. So technically it's 8 hours per quarter in a year. So, but how many quarters in a year? Every 3 months? But that's 4. So what's that? 32 hours of training a year? So that's
That's crazy.
and then you shoot. You also shoot every quarter. So some officers don't go to the range probably 4 times a year. So the training, you could definitely use more training, but the issue is you can't train the racism out of people. If somebody been some way for 22, 23 years of how to see black people, and they never really been around black people, and now you put them in a neighborhood where all they dealing with is black people, the only perception that they have of dealing with black people, their first impression is from a cop, civilian, or criminal perspective. And knowing that they most likely haven't been around black people, you can already know what type of perception it is. It's one thing that bothers me that was alarming to me when I first became a cop. Every TV in the station had Fox News on. Okay, every fucking TV. So you comfortable with the police officers working in black neighborhoods watching Sean Hannity? And that's what we are dealing with. The psych eval, Angela asking about the psych evaluation, it's a joke. Because what it is pretty much somebody that's hired by the city. So just to give you an example of how it's a joke. So I went through it twice with the same department. The first time I was honest, I was blunt, pretty forthcoming with everything. And the psychologist was like, oh, I sense some depression. A year and a half later, I took the eval and I just kind of had like pretty much like I could care less type of attitude. He thought I was perfectly fine. I was more depressed the second time than I was the first time. I was pretty happy the first time. I just graduated from college. I bought my first place. Shit, I was in a good place. And all the psychologists is a pipeline to the chief. So you go in there, you vent about shit, what you going through. They'll just go tell the chief, and then they can decide whether or not they want to get rid of you or not. But that's how they figure out your political views and all that shit. So if your like political views and all that don't align with theirs, they have many different ways to eliminate, good and most likely black cops. Can't hear you, Dave.
Quincy, I want you to speak to that too, because I know we've been having conversations, with the organization PAR that we've been working with. Speak to like when you talk about how to get rid of good candidates, because I know we always talk about we want more police and we want more black police and police from our neighborhoods, police in our areas. Explain to the people why that has been so difficult and what the ratio is of actual black people who make it into the academy.
Well,
applicants.
Dame, you actually heard it. We had a background investigator from a police department who said he had 50 black applicants that he felt was qualified, and the department only hired one. And my background investigator was actually in there, and she said that they wanted to eliminate me from the process just because of my address. So that's how that's how they able to dictate what type of person you are or where you coming from. So if you got an Orange County address and you coming from Orange County, you're most likely to get hired. That's why when you look at these departments, ask the officer where he grew up at. And I bet you most of the places they grew up at are conservative-based, Republican-type areas. Because one thing I always hate is that police departments like a fraternity. No, the fuck is not. It's a government agency that should be out there protecting and serving people. People's political views or whatever you have should not be coming in play when you wear that badge and uniform. But we all know that's only in the ideal world. So what they're able to do, as far as black people, one of the number one things they know, a lot of times we come out of college, our credit is fucked up. So they attack they say, well, you know what? Your credit report is bad. They'll tell you that your credit report is bad and based on your address. And then once they get you into the academy or the training process, you're an at-will employee, so they can pretty much fire you without letting you know. But what they do is they'll hire you, but you won't get off training. But they'll show the statistics that say, "Hey, we did hire 16 black people." But what they're not gonna tell you, no one from that class is still a police officer. And that's actually, yeah. So yeah, because that was actually one of the classes. Well, I think they had 10 black officers, and that was the class before me, and none of them are there now. So what they have strategic ways of getting rid of black officers. That's why in an organization that Dame, Chan, and I are in, we trying to figure out ways how to penetrate that and actually have to go over people's heads in the police department, because they know how to cover it up pretty well. And like I said, with their show, you'll go to the mayor, they'll show the mayor, "Oh no, we hire black people." And the mayor be like, "Okay, cool." But what the mayor doesn't know is that out of those black people, none of them made it off training.
And we've, been in this organization and been on this call, Quincy, we've seen that this happens more often than not. And just talking about that,
in different departments.
Yeah, in different departments. Like this is not one department, people. We talking to people from all kind of different departments all over California, even some out of state. And the crazy thing to me is, let's just take the first situation where you said 1 in 50. That means there's a possibility. Let's say even if they took 50% of the 50, let's say they took 25 of the 50, that means we lost probably 25 good black officers from the neighborhood who understand us, who would never get to come and support us, that'll never get to come and patrol for us and our people. So when people ask the question, why don't we get cops from our neighborhoods, we just want to let y'all know this is one of the reasons. There are actually people from our neighborhoods who are trying to be cops. Yeah. They are being effectively stopped. So the systemic racism isn't only what we see spill out into the streets with the gunfire. The systemic racism is also in the hiring process of the department. And some of the horror stories I've heard about the hiring officers and the hiring process and things that we seen officers get dinged for. Like, there were a couple of people on this call who aren't police officers who were trying to be officers, and all the cops were like, "This person should be a police officer." And he was like, "Yeah, I didn't pass something." It was like a dumb reason for everybody on that call who said they didn't pass or didn't get in or didn't get on. So it's such a huge problem, and it feels insurmountable at this point, really, when you looking at what you see when somebody like Jacob Blakes gets shot, and then what you see when you see actual good black officers being fired, when you see actual, and then the other black officers who like to tap dance, they all over social media, justifying this bullshit. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, the answer said your question. Can a governor fire a chief? No, but the mayor and city manager can fire a chief. So he could tell them, he could suggest it, but this is why when y'all vote for mayor, when y'all vote for city council, the people who hire these chiefs, this is the type of stuff you have to take in consideration. Because a lot that's how because a lot of these chiefs are not elected officials. So what you got to do, you got to go after the people that hire them. You got to hold them accountable. Like, okay, you don't want to get the chief that we want or that we looking for, or we can't get in on this process, and this chief has allowed a whole bunch of dirty shit goes on, then we won't vote you in. We'll get somebody that will get the right leadership that we want in our police department. But yeah, but what we have found out, what I kind of already knew, but I didn't know how widespread it was as far as department-wise and with this police culture, is that the systematic racism, it starts way before they hit the street. It literally starts in the hiring process.
And like you said, because I know we kind of skipped over a little bit, but like anybody who didn't see or hear what the chief said, he basically said it's them people thought they got killed because they was out there after curfew. Like, he basically justified the white boy shooting them with an AR-15. And then after justifying it, wouldn't even speak on a Jacob Blake case. So what I'm saying is we watching in real time the contrast of how white people and black people are being treated by police officers for anybody who who never believed it, never saw it, didn't think it was real. Like, we're literally watching the same police department, same city, same time, and how they're dealing with a white perpetrator and a black person who wasn't even a perpetrator, a black person who was breaking up a fight. Robert, I want to go to you and get your thoughts on it before,
My thoughts have been all over the place. I think on a grander scheme, to me, it's very sad in a sense where with everything that is going on, to see the blatant arrogance to just neglect what has happened over the past 3 years and just carry on like, this is the norm and not think about how it could be perceived. It's mind-boggling. Seeing the protests, seeing the violence, seeing everything that's happened, like these officers did not even have an ounce of awareness on the grand scheme. It spoke, just everything just spoke to such a high level, so many layers of the issues that we've been facing. From the gunman being able to just idly walk by like he didn't do anything, hint of white privilege, to police officers again being shielded by corruption, to what is going on where this is a justification to really understand what is being called for the reallocation of police funding to ensure that there is proper management, proper accountability, and proper use to ensure that they follow the mantra of to serve and to protect all. Like, I struggle in a sense because I think that, the more and more people see this, the more and more there will be change. And it's like the more and more you see it, it's like a slap in the face where it's like, no. It's almost like, and I said this earlier, it's like, people aren't going to get it until violence is the answer. It's like, I'm like, dude, like dog,
I know you're having a hard time trying to articulate it, but I think this has kind of been an underlying conversation that's been brewing between Black people as like, okay, how many more times are we going to peacefully march? How many more times are we going to turn the other cheek? How many more times are we going to be the ones who aren't armed at a protest when they are coming to our protest armed? Like, even with that, I feel like we got to be smarter with that. If y'all gonna go out there and protest, because y'all know what they are out there doing, y'all know they're literally calling for patriots. They're calling for patriots to come show up to wherever y'all are to shoot. We need to get our own militias together and do the same thing. Sheila, I want to get your thoughts.
Not even an emotional person, but I have a hard time not being emotional. It's traumatic to keep watching these Black people murdered and hurt and injured. Is that super loud? I have an electrician working in here. Are we okay with the noise? Okay. But yeah, it's just, I feel triggered in a different way though. I'm starting to feel like this is purposeful. All of us know that if you're looking at a 3-year-old kid, if they know that they're being watched and they're doing something wrong, they're gonna straighten up and try to like act like nothing's wrong. You have cops that know that cameras are pointed at them. They know that they have a body cam on their person, and they're still just like, so nigga, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to take your life. That's the message that we keep getting. And no matter that we are starting to see people get consequences, why would they feel that emboldened? We've all seen this, even on a mediocre level, like episodes of Cops where you have crazy white boys running all over the place. He didn't hit a cop and ran around naked, and they just chase him. And like Quincy talked about earlier, they try to find the least violent way to take that person down. Or when it comes to us, we can be doing the bare minimum or walking away from you, where you can't say you felt scared. You can't say you felt threatened. That was a straight hit to me. That was a straight up hit. And to know that they still had to have looked at the situation and seen that there was babies in that car, and you're going to shoot some bullets in the vicinity of these little children. It's not only, hey, I don't care about your life. I don't care about these kids' life. I don't care about these women's lives around you. Let me show you how much I don't care about none of this. All I care about is you doing what I say.
Yeah, it's rough. It's really rough even trying to have a conversation about it, because I know today it's led to something else. It's led to the NBA boycott, and it's led to them stepping up, and that shit spread like wildfire in a way that I didn't think it would. Like when the first game hit, I felt like, me and Quincy was talking. I said, okay, I feel like no NBA games are going to be played, only because, as we talked about, NBA has always been the most progressive league out of all the leagues. They have been the only league I feel like that really gave a voice to their players and really gave their players a platform to express themselves, to express anything they felt about social injustice. Like they have, pretty much, especially I got to give a shout out to Adam Silver, because he's even more progressive than Stern. He's a lot more progressive than David Stern. So I know he was trying to do everything he could to make them feel comfortable, to give them the platform to, whatever they ask for. Y'all want Black Lives Matter on the court? I'll do it. Y'all want to put social justice messages on the back of y'all jerseys to express how y'all feeling? I'll let y'all do it. Y'all want to do PSAs? Y'all want to talk about Breonna Taylor? And every single one of y'all, like they let them have that free reign of the press to do what they needed to do. And, because of that free reign, I think Doc Rivers' post-game speech last night, I really think that was the impetus of one of the things that set this whole thing in motion, because just the raw emotion that he was speaking with, and just the realism and the real shit he was talking about and spitting. And when he said, the most powerful thing he said was, why do we keep trying to love a country that don't love us? And this is the child of a cop. So you can't use he's a cop hater shit. Like he checks all the boxes for the shit that you can't use against somebody speaking out. He's not radical left, as they trying to say, you know what I mean? And I think once he did that, I think the players really, in that bubble, sitting there with nothing to do but play basketball and watch what's happening on TV, like they can't get distracted by nothing either. So they probably had to sit in that shit just the way we had to sit in the George Floyd shit when we were all in, under the pandemic, under the stay-at-home order. We all had to sit at home and watch it constantly on TV. So I'm sure that's where they are. And them coming out today to do that was such a powerful message. But not only that, after that, the Milwaukee Brewers said they weren't playing. Then the Dodgers said they weren't playing. Football teams started to join in, and I got to give a shout out to Detroit first, because the Detroit Lions were the first ones say we're not coming to practice and none of this shit till we talk about this shit. So I'm gonna go to Ron on this. Ron, what do you think is the next step and is the next move, and what do you feel needs to happen at this point? Oh, you frozen? Look, he been cool this whole time. He been cool this whole time. He got froze right when I went to him.
I think he's coming back.
Oh yeah, thank you, Angela. Now tennis, like on tennis, they said
Sorry
Coco.
about that, Chuck.
It's okay. Osaka's not playing tomorrow in the tennis, which is huge. All right, go ahead, Ron. floor is yours.
No, I just wanted to, I'll back up one step. I'm going back to Jacob Blake. I just wanted to address that. It was a unfortunate situation. It was a situation where we can kind of clearly see that we as Black people have to sort of move in unison and have an understanding that we understand that this society doesn't see us as human. And with that understanding, we have to move accordingly. And I'm definitely not putting any blame on Jacob Blake, but I'm putting blame on the fact that if we're in a society that we understand sees our color as a threat, we then have to be very strategic in how we deal with its, I would just say, race officers at some point. I'm sorry, I'm having people move stuff in my house too, but and to try to take emotion out and sort of plan strategically. This is why I have on my Redstone Firearms cap, I have on my Redstone Firearms t-shirt. It's time, people. If you don't have a felony on your record, you must be armed. There is no other choice. There's nothing else. I mean, we've tried talking, we've tried being peaceful, we've tried protesting, we've tried praying, we've tried everything other than, you know what, it's time for an eye for an eye. And until we can get to the point where we can either say, you know what, we want to be here, we're going to accept what, you know, the casualties of war of being here, and we're not going to complain, or we're going to fight back. And so in this instance, had Jacob taken a different approach, which is, all right, I got my kids with me. And see, I think that's something that a lot of people don't really, they're not talking about as much. They have brought it up in the news and the media, but when you have children in the presence of something like that at the ages that they're in, they're going to be eternally affected their entire life. I think this is one of his son's 7th birthday, if I'm not mistaken. And that young man is going to have to, every day of his life that it's his birthday, he's going to have to reminisce on a situation where his father was paralyzed in a situation that could have been prevented. Again, we don't know all the details, but in that situation, even if people in the neighborhood or people that see this happening are armed, someone has to do something. And unfortunately, it's come to the point where we say, you know, we're trying to follow the law, be law-abiding citizens. It's almost time for anarchy. It's time for the purge. And in situations like that, where you see somebody being harmed in that fashion, it's time to just shoot those police. And I hate saying this. I mean, I don't necessarily hate saying it because it's a reality I've lived with for a while. But in public, we don't usually speak in this type of fashion. And it's come to the point where until we're harming them, they're going to continue to harm us. And it's like that bully when you come up through school. I mean, he'll keep picking on you. He'll keep picking on you until you fight back. And this country was brought up, you know, I read a lot of the history. I know it. We've always tried to fight back. We've even been proactive in fighting. And for us to be part of this society and to not do this, to kind of show that we do have a peaceful side to us, that we don't want to take these actions, that we love this country as much as everyone else, and that we want to be a part of it, and then to be treated in the fashion we're being treated, at some point you break. We've bent enough. We're bent over backwards trying to appease people that have clearly shown us they don't want us. So with that said, it's time to arm ourselves. It's time to get proper training, because as much as we want to train up the police, once they start seeing that we're armed and we're trained and that we're prepared, and that unfortunately, if something like this happens, we're going to take other means, then at some point it's just going to happen. And so I'm broke. I've been broken for quite a while now. And I think people know this, especially people who follow me online and who kind of hear the things that I say in private groups. I'm a broken person because my heart is broken. I lack empathy. I lack any type of feeling for these people. And until we can get to a point where we have a basic understanding, just stay on your side. You know, I'm not saying we're going to get along, we're going to do other. It's almost time to bring segregation back, because I just don't see another way. And until people, you know, I mean, we can vote, we can do all these things, but the reality is this is the sickness and the original sin of this country that just keeps rearing its ugly head up. Every time we think we've made it over the hill, every time we think, you know what, this will change them, it doesn't. They're back there fighting. They're on this RNC arguing over shit it's mind-boggling. And I'm actually going to stop talking about this type of stuff, because a lot of people say, well, what are you going to do now? I'm going to be about action. I've talked about Uncouth having a training day at the range. I've already reached out to Redstone Firearms. We're going to have this training day, and any member of Uncouth or the family that like to join me, come out, because I'm no longer talking about it. I'm starting to prepare. I'm like Robert Ory, you kill my son, I'm going to kill you. And if I can't get you, I'm going to get someone you love. So that's my stance on it. And unfortunately, it's kind of a sad sort of state of being that I'm in, but it's just where I'm at. I love too hard. I try my best to do the right things. And unfortunately, regardless of what we do, what we wear, how we speak, none of that matters. So now on the sport, the NBA, that's great. I love our players for standing up for us. I was in the boat that we shouldn't have come back. Not that it mattered, regardless of whether it would change what's going on in society. I just think it's time for us to stop entertaining people on every platform. Unless it's something that we own and operate completely and we're the ones making money off of it, it's time to stop entertaining people. It's time to show them that you need us more than you think you do. Because they really think, what we could do without them. And well, it's time to show them that, okay, you can, let's do it. So that's my stance on the NBA. It's just time to stop completely everything. It's time to shut down. They think the market got shut down. It's time to shut down every form of entertainment. And unfortunately that impacts some of us. I know Dame, you're in entertainment, and there's a lot of people that we have that are in entertainment, but unfortunately the shucking and jive has just made it to the point where that's all they see us as. They want us to be out there dribbling, singing, dancing, and then when you're on the street, you just better straighten up, boy, or you may end up dead. So enough talking. I'll send out a post in the group as far as the training is concerned. And once we get that date secured, I'm just going to invite who first come, first serve. Whoever pays for their spot, you're in. Next time, we're going to try to do this at least once a month so that we can get enough training to where we feel comfortable in protecting our family, if nothing else. And then maybe once we're fully trained, we can start training others and then keep teaching the next generation, so that in these situations, we have to protect our family at all costs. And our family is all of us. It's not just me and the people that live in my house. It's everyone that has to live with this constant state of just, it's madness. And we've become used. This is Gotham. Like, we watch Batman and shit. This is fucking Gotham. They rant and rave about this country and how great it is. We are in fucking Gotham City, and it's run amok, and it's run by crooks that make us that talk about a lot of shit but don't do anything. So let me stop now. I would continue on for an hour. So.
And we got the Joker for president, ain't that so?
Right. Thank you. I succeed my time. Thank you.
You're muted, Dave.
You're muted, Dave.
I said, okay, Quincy, I want to hear your thoughts on the boycott. And because, I know you a super sports fan like me, but you were just as excited as I was about the guys coming up and stepping up and everything that went forward. I mean, so I just want to get your thoughts.
The Lakers, that's my team. Don't nobody want to see the Lakers more than I do. But some things are a lot bigger than my passion for a sport. And the fellas had to do what they had to do. That's, we only have so many leverage plays that we can play. And when we can, we need to take advantage of it. I mean, we've been saying on this show for years now that NFL players, if they would have told the NFL 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, we ain't playing in that shit until you bring Cap back and do right by us, we won't play in the Super Bowl. That shit would have been corrected years ago. So we've been saying, I mean, these fellas, they contribute a lot to this economy. They make a lot of white men rich. And I think they at a point is, you know what? If we continue to put millions and billions of dollars in your pocket, you could at least, like I said in our inbox, I bet you the owner of the Bucks gonna have a phone call with the governor of Milwaukee, of Wisconsin at some point. Because that's who be funding a lot of these campaigns and these politicians. So, you know, now that they actually, and the only time, like you said it, like you said it several times, this country only responds to violence and when their pockets getting hit. And so I think the players using their platform, I'm very proud of them because a lot of them, they don't live in the hood no more, you know, but they still haven't forgot where they came from. If you go through all of Watts, you'll see a lot of things from Russell Westbrook. I'm sure it's the same thing for LeBron and Akron and many others. And so I'm definitely proud of them because they know the lead. One thing about the NBA players, they always knew their leverage. They knew their leverage since Don Sterling situation. I think that was the beginning of it. When the Clippers and Golden State was going to walk out in the middle of a game because Don Sterling wasn't fired yet, the NBA got rid of his ass real quick. So I know a lot of people are, you know, I don't know why, have their own reasons why the players shouldn't or shouldn't. I think they should do whatever they feel is right with the leverage that they have. Like I said, they contribute a lot to this economy. They making a lot of companies rich, all them advertisements, all those things that go out through the game. And they using the leverage that they have. And that's what you have to do. So, and to see the baseball follow suit, the NFL, and to even hear Roger Goodell even express regrets of not listening to the Kaepernick earlier the other day was telling. I hate that the owners is put him out there. I don't think Goodell ever really had an issue with Cap. I think it's the owners who won't talk and say shit. We all know, you know, you could just take two guesses. You could probably figure out what owners I'm talking about. And
Jerry Jones.
Yeah. Robert Kraft, the rest of them, you know. Yeah. But they're using Goodell to you know,
be their mouthpiece.
Yeah, to be their mouthpiece. But like I said, this was coming, and they just got to a point to where they fed up. And I'm with Ron. Fuck it, let's go across the board. We ain't doing no concerts. We ain't doing no fucking specials. No VMAs, no Grammys, nothing. We gonna completely shut it all down. You would not profit off us and become rich off us anymore until you make sure that these people who campaigns and shit that you support do right by us.
Absolutely. Like I agree wholeheartedly. And I think if you just look at our history, the main people who've been murdered are leaders who brought us together in any real and major way. Now we're together. There's not one person that you could just take out that will cause us to separate again. We're just together. And so now that we are actually standing together, we can make big moves like this. And I'm with Quincy. Like, it's a huge deal that the NBA, I mean, I didn't expect it to be that major. And then, you know, you hear people like, oh, I'm not going to even, we're trying to not talk bad about black people. Talking about, you know, how he could at least they could have at least given Orlando a heads up that they was going to strike because they were there to, like, nobody cares about a heads up. This is a protest, dude. Shut up. You know, and that's the thing that I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We are really always going to have those there's never any time in life that we're all going to be on the same page. The goal is just for at least 80% of us to get on that page. Right. You're going to have some dummies. Please don't let the dummies exhaust you, because that's what's happening. We're letting dummies drain our energy and say, see, this is why black people can't get together. Black people can get together, and we can get together with white people, and we can get together with Jewish people. You're going to have some assholes that are not going to get on this train. Please do not give them the energy. Focus on the people that are here with us. And I really do believe that these moves are going to make some major change, but I'm still a little bit on the Ron tip too. It's time to strap up. Like,
well, I think you need all of that. Yeah, I'm gonna say I think we need. We need all of it. Like we need to We need to come at it on an economic level. We need to come at it on a practicing our Second Amendment as American citizens, and we need to start talking like them about the Second Amendment. I am exercising my right as an American citizen to bear arms in the Second Amendment, and we need to spit that shit to everybody. Like we need to let people know the Second Amendment is not just for patriots and white people. The Second Amendment is for every American citizen.
And you know what to add?
Give them a reason to be scared.
I want to add to Ron's point about arm yourself. Also, arm yourself with a body camera. If you could see, the one thing racists also don't like is cameras. So I was saying cameras and guns. If you're gonna carry a gun, have your camera ready to go. Don't leave without the other, because that
we need proof.
Yeah, that's the other thing that they hate more than. Of course, they don't want us to carry guns, but they definitely don't. They hate when we carry cameras as well. So, and I had an incident about 2 months ago when I was out visiting my kids, where a guy, I don't know what the hell this problem was, but he decided to show me his gun, and then he caught a little surprise because I have mine too, and his eyes got big. But one of the things I keep on rehashing in my head is I didn't pull out my phone. But of course, if somebody pull out a gun on you, you don't really think to pull out your phone first. Like, if something would have happened, what evidence or proof I would have had on me? And it's about protecting your family, but protect yourself as well. And they do have civilian body cameras, where the moment somebody ignorant walk up on you, you fucking click it on. And because that's kind of how it's sad. That's kind of how we have to move and protect ourselves, because a lot of these things would not be an issue 20, 30 years ago, because it wasn't a lot of camera phones. We knew about the shit. We heard about it, but none of this stuff would be happening if it wasn't for camera phones and social media.
Yeah, right.
So we heard stories growing up about people getting shot in their back, on arm. I remember a friend of my mom, he was shot this back in the day when they were shooting people from the helicopter.
Damn.
The LAPD shot him from the helicopter. Dead in his back, unarmed. So I was like 10 or 11 when hearing about that stuff. So we didn't heard these stories, but now that, I mean, and then if you think about when Dr. King and John Lewis and them marched through Selma across the bridge, what was the eye opening? What was the worst thing that could have happened that day? They did that shit while them TV cameras was on. That was strategically done. So racists hate us with guns, but they also hate us with cameras. So trust me, when you confront with these people, if you have to pull your shit out, if you got somebody with you, tell them, hey, put your turn your phone on, because if it goes down, I'm gonna need somebody to see this shit.
Yeah, that's some great advice, Quincy. Yeah, go ahead.
Dan, can I add a quick tidbit? I was just reading some. I've been looking through posts, but there's only been 12 days in 2020 in America where police did not kill someone. The police killed 751 people in 235 days.
Wow.
This is an issue.
Yeah, it's an issue.
I just went online and just Googled like countries with the most murders. I mean, and obviously we're literally the only non-third world country with this type of murder rate. Now you have Brazil and some of these other countries who are at war that have high killing rates, but like you look at all the European countries, they're in the single digits, but yet we're out here killing people daily. And it's not just Black people. So when people hear us talk about this is not just for Black people. But they shouldn't be killing anyone. I mean, obviously, unless you have a threat, an actual threat, someone's firing at you or something like that. Go ahead, Q.
Because that's an indictment on police culture. Like being in that culture, they hire people who don't give a fuck about people. Based under our shooting policy, I could have shot about 30, 40 people if I really went by the shooting policy.
And been justified.
Right.
Right.
But that person's life meant something to me. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't. Yeah, I could have done it, but that wasn't what it was about. It was about I can't. And I used to actually say this to people. My goal is for me to go see my kids at the end of this conversation, and for you to go home. So, what's the best route for us to take for this?
Right.
After I said that, the level come down. Like boom, that's my goal. After this conversation, whatever happens, you go home to your family. I go home to mine. I win.
Imagine if all the police said that, though, Q. Like, imagine if that was the first thing that police are taught to say when they walk up on you. My goal here is for us to both go home.
But the problem is, I was criticized. I was told, well, Miles just want to be their friends. You want to be their friends.
With having citizens as your friends. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
And that's the problem. You go in there, you got fucking John Wayne posters all over the goddamn station. It is what they promote.
Mm-hmm.
You know about
the culture.
It's the whole culture of it. You're in a culture. You're soft if you give a fuck. Mm-hmm. Pretty much, you're weak. You're not considered a good. You remember I told y'all several times. My sergeant called me in the office and said, "Hey, I noticed that your use of force are lows." I said, "Yeah." Well, I feel like that's a command presence issue. I said, no. I said, actually, I think because I have good command presence, people don't try to fight me. She said, well, you know what? If your use of force are lows, that means you're not doing police work. That's a damn supervisor. So what we have to figure out is, fuck reform. The culture needs to be completely burned down
and rebuilt from the ground up.
Because I'm gonna give this example and then I'll shut the hell up. I had to break down to an officer because he got a friend of mine. He called me and he was mad because I guess her kid saw him and the mom said, "Hey, don't look at him. He gonna kill you." He was like, "Yeah, I went off on her, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Why you go off on her? Do you really understand why she said that?" I said, I said, you know better because you know me and you heard my stories. Do you know where her pain came from? He's like, but I'm not like that. I said, but check this out. My mom was 8 years old during the Watts riot in the 1960s. My mom remembered when a sheriff deputy told my grandmother, if you don't get back in the house, I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out. In 1988, 20 years later, my mom's son, me, 10 years old, remember an LAPD officer telling my mom he was gonna blow her fucking brains out. That's a 20-year gap in generation of me and my mom having the same fucking experience. So when people talk about, well, we need reform, no, the culture, because there were black officers who dealt with the fathers of the sons that I was dealing with that was racist. So I dealt with the sons, and they was telling me, oh yeah, I almost got into it with his dad back in 1986 because he called me a nigger.
The culture.
It's the culture.
So it's just breeding. They're breeding hate.
Well, exactly. It's the culture. It's the culture plus the nepotism of the culture. And like Quincy said, the people who get promoted are those who promote that culture. The people who get promoted are those who promote brutality, are those who
oh yeah. Oh, you better believe the white dudes who ain't for this shit, straight up. A deputy chief told somebody who I think it would have been a great supervisor, like told him straight up, you would never promote, so stop taking the test. This was a white dude who was a good, fair, someone that I looked up to. They told him straight up, you would never promote.
Right.
Right now, there was a black officer that I know that's on training. Her training officer told her, I'm not going to train you until I know you're no longer one of them. She said, what do you mean by one of them? He said that you're not one of those Black Lives Matter people. So you on our side now. So I'm not going to train you. I'm not going to do my job, which is train you to be a police officer.
Because of your ideology.
Exactly. Now, tell me how many white officers been told, hey, I ain't training you until I know you're not a white supremacist.
None.
Another young kid that I know that's on training. His training officer said, hey, you know, now that you one of us, you gotta change your friends, and told him he got to change how he walked. He got too much swag in his walk. This is what his fucking training officer told him. So this, even when you get in as a black officer, this is what you change to. That's why if you're not strong enough, you would be some big black officer promoting no racism in your police department and people gassing that shit up. And that's what we're dealing with. And that's what we're up against. So when we talk about police reform, fuck reforming. The whole structure needs to be torn down and rebuilt.
Torn down.
Because you dealing with over 100 years of racism.
Without the union. You start with the union.
That's huge. That's huge.
Hey, Ron, that's one of the most overlooked things. I think, because people always go after the department, and rightfully so, but it's the union that be protecting these dirty bastards more than anybody.
Right. The station want to get rid of them, but the union fight for them, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, I don't know how politically correct, Quincy, I'm gonna be able to be on this call with the cops tomorrow. It's probably gonna be a little tense.
That call tomorrow, I already know it's about to be off the chart.
It's gonna be a little tense.
Hey, if somebody come in there halfway on that bullshit, I'm telling you.
Going clean the fuck off, right? So with that being said, now you know that's one piece of the fucking puzzle, and there's another piece of the puzzle happening right now. They have the Republican National Convention. It's happening right now, and I had to
endure.
I had to endure watching it for the last couple of days.
I tried.
I didn't get a chance to watch it today.
I got a couple minutes in.
Yeah, I know Ron got a couple minutes in today. I didn't get a chance to watch it today, but I watched most of the keynote speakers on Monday and Tuesday. And listen, I watched because I wanted to give my Uncool Radio listeners that didn't want to watch the lowdown of what was happening. Huh?
Let's say you almost killed yourself for the viewers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things you do for us.
And listen, man. Listen. Because you know me, guys, I do my best to try to look at things from a nonpartisan aspect. I really do. But there's a place where the partisan goes out the door and it goes to just right and wrong. It just goes to correct and false. You know what I mean? Like it just goes to true and lies. And
there was no true.
No.
It was let me tell you something. It was really really bad. It was really bad, and it was kind of disheartening to me to see that, like, because of course, look, we know the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention is supposed to be like a pep rally. I get that. That's fine. If it's going to be a week-long pep rally just to pump up the candidate and say, pump up the candidate and say, this is who, we're going to get behind. I would have thought that the Republicans would at least stay away from the fuck ups. I thought they would steer clear.
They embraced it.
Straight at them.
No. Not only did they embrace it, Rob, they literally changed history. They rewrote history for every single thing that happened. And let me just go through a couple of things, just to explain to y'all what I mean. And because every night after the DNC, and Quincy can attest to this, so people don't think we only did it for the RNC. Every night after the DNC, we was going through and fact checking and dropping it in our chat, talking to each other. Every night during the RNC, we've been going through fact checking and dropping the fact checking. And these are not from partisan sites. These are multiple sites fact checking everything that's happening in real time. They touted his response to the coronavirus as amazing.
Oh my God.
Now, mind you, if you want to say he did good with the information he had, I probably would have gave you that. But they were literally acting like he was an American hero for the way he handled it. That was one. And then two, and this was the biggest lie that I was like, this is a lie I didn't even have to tell. And this was to me telling of what the whole RNC was about. They said Trump inherited an economy on the front end of a recession.
I almost lost my I was like, what?
So for the people watching, I want y'all to understand something. Trump inherited a healthy economy that have been growing steadily over 8 years. The numbers show it, the numbers prove it, the jobs went up, and Obama had actually inherited a recession. Obama actually had a so not only did Obama get a recession, he cleaned it up and then added to it, right? He cleaned it up and he had actually got us up to record lows of unemployment. So just for the math, because I know Donald Trump likes to tout that he got record low unemployment for blacks, Hispanics, and everybody else. So what happened was, but this is the thing. What happened was there was growth the whole time. There was no loss of growth in any of Obama's presidency. So Obama grew the economy. I think he had a 8-point increase, right? Like he had an 8-point increase for the unemployment rate. Like it went down 8 points under Obama. Then Donald Trump inherited it
and didn't touch it. Didn't change anything.
Didn't touch it. Well, no, he changed one thing. He changed some regulations.
Oh no, yeah, he got rid of
he got rid of a bunch of regulations. But under Trump, it went down 2 points. So it was already going towards a record low. So he got to tout the record low, but it only moved 2 points under him the whole time before the coronavirus. So it moved 2 points under him, but it moved 8 points under Barack. But they keep touting it. But this is what I talk about when I talk about the Republicans' messaging. Because now I have learned from watching this RNDC, they only care about the base. They 100% do not give a fuck about the black vote
at all.
Nope.
Don't need it.
The black reach out was a joke. Everybody black who spoke basically came on and was trying to convince America that there is no racism because look at me, I made it. And that just and that's why I said out of all the black people who spoke, the only person who said we need to end racism in the midst of him talking about we need to back cops was Eric Trump. None of the black people who spoke mentioned racism. Even Nikki Haley, who changed her name to be more Caucasian, because I didn't even know until this RNC that she was actually an Indian brown woman. Nikki Haley said this country is not racist and then proceeded to lay out all the racist shit her family went through in this country. So look, let me just say this. As I said about the fact checking, the fact checking for the Democrats was about, I want to say 2 pages, Quincy.
Yeah.
About 2 pages, and it said, and this is for the whole 4 nights. I don't think there was one false. I don't think there was one where they said what they said was false. They said slightly exaggerated, or it was exaggerated, or could have used more context, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was too vague.
Yeah, too vague. You go to the Republican one on the first night.
Bruh, 18 pages.
That shit was like 8 to 10 pages on the first night, and a lot of that shit was like false, lie,
Blatant.
exaggerated, like blatant.
I thought the most blatant shit was that Trump never downplayed the coronavirus. I was like, you motherfuckers just missed a whole 3 months. They missed from January to March. Because the nigga was calling it a hoax for 3 months. That's kind of how we ended up in this situation.
Same thing we told people to take bleach.
Yeah. They got that light Will Smith have on Men in Black. Every night they just wipe their memory. We start from scratch. Yeah. Turn on Fox. Wipe.
To me, the Republican strategy is simple. We're gonna get all our base to come out and vote because they gonna scare the shit out of you. They were even saying stuff like, "Look, if you don't, vote for Trump, Biden gonna have all the black and brown people move in your neighborhoods.
MS-13.
Then the MS-13, they gonna throw their guns and shit in your neighborhoods." They were saying whatever they could do. So
what is their infatuation with MS-13? What did I miss?
Breaking news. Lakers and Clippers vote not to play. Both LA teams voted to strike the rest of the NBA season and left the meeting. Every other team voted to keep playing.
Right.
Shout out to the LA squad.
Man.
And you know what? I want to go to Pandora's comment too right here. She said also their fear tactics are quite effective. And I want to talk about this in particular because we hear so many people talking about the Democrats are trying to scare you into voting. Let me tell you something. If you watch the RNC versus the DNC, there was nowhere near close the amount of fear mongering in the DNC that there is in the RNC. Like Ron was saying, they said the Republicans are coming to take your guns. They want MS-13 to move in next to you, and we want to lock you. They want to lock you in your houses. Like when I say blatant lies, that shouldn't be like, to me. You shouldn't be able to tell those kind of lies because there is no policy where Kamala. And first of all, calling Kamala Harris and the Biden ticket radical left when they are the most moderate and closest to Republican Democratic ticket you could have is just fucking crazy.
Damn, they can't say nigger. So they've used the term radical left. I mean, they're like, hey, they took the ER from us. What's the next thing? Radical left. So we know what that dog whistle means.
Yeah, so I watched it. I watched Melania last night. That was a tough watch.
Oh my God.
And she did a full 26 minutes on your ass.
Yeah.
I mean, just the sheer absurdity of watching a dude be this hard on immigration, and we can hardly understand the English that his wife uses right now. It's just
no. Let me take it even further. The fact that he had a naturalization for 5 people.
Yeah,
right.
Okay. Right. It's like
I was like, do you think this naturalization means that we forget all the racist shit you said about immigrants?
Right. Like they really think that we're idiots. They really think we're idiots.
No, a lot of people are idiots, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because like as you know, me and Quincy, we follow a lot of pundits on the left and a lot of pundits on the right. If you go to certain Twitter pages of certain conservative voices, you just go in their comments. You can see what people thinking. That lady who looked like she was hocked up on cocaine and turning into the chick from Power Rangers, people would really tout like that was the best speech I've ever seen in a convention. And I was like, what, y'all didn't see the coked up mess that was going on out there? Like, because like
definitely a cokehead.
Literally, cocaine convention was trending.
Hey, so I got breaking news because more information coming out about this NBA thing. So the Lakers and Clippers both walked out the meeting, right? But before LeBron walked out, he said LeBron told the owners that he wants them to take more action and get more involved with social justice and racial issues. They said when LeBron walked out, the Lakers and Clippers walked out. Udonis Haslem said to the other teams, how are we going to play without the Lakers and Clippers?
The NBA don't want no Bucks Utah finals, so
the owners better do something real quick.
I bet you
They got
something
enough
moves.
influence.
When their pockets getting affected, something's gonna move.
I think that's the move that has now happened. Like this is open. This has
And with
changed
those two
everything.
teams, with the,
No,
right
this
now,
is this has
because
changed
the
everything.
NBA is riding on the Clippers and the Lakers in the Western Conference
Conference
Finals.
finals. Yeah.
Trust me, they gonna sell $1 million advertisements for that shit. And the fact that
commercial.
those the two teams that decided to say fuck it, I don't think that's a coincidence. That's knowing your leverage. Look, people could hate LeBron for whatever reason, but I'll tell you what, this dude didn't figure out the leverage play, and he haven't let off the gas yet.
Right. Well, those two teams have what, 4 of the top 10 players in the league, right? So we basically got 40% of the league's top 10 players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the leverage in itself. And so I'm just glad those two did it together, man. You know, after this, if they ever do play, that would kind of be like special. You know, I mean, because I don't think they would really hate each other. They just want to beat each other on the court. But I think this is going to actually bring them closer together.
I do too.
As brothers.
I think this is that moment we needed when we were always talking about, you know, where are the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, where are the Bill Russells, where are the Jim Browns of the day. Like, I think we are in that moment. We having that moment right now, and it's kind of amazing to be able to get a chance to see it and a chance to watch it. But yeah, man,
we need to do a 2022 version. We need to do a 2020 version of that summit that they had back then with
they
Jim
probably
Brown.
will.
Dave, I also want to add to this. I think the strength of that and the importance of that is that it is also something that some of these young players that are not necessarily have been activists, they're seeing firsthand and they're understanding firsthand the power in which they yield.
Yes.
From the nonsense in which Michael Porter Jr. has stated 2 weeks ago, that you can see that there's an education that he is undergoing where he's learning of the impact of not just his words, but at the same time, the accountability that he is now facing to ensure that he's better educated whenever he speaks. So I think it's a monumental on so many levels.
Woj just reported the NBA is scheduling a board governors meeting. That means an owners meeting
tomorrow. Right. That's tomorrow.
Because they're about to lose so much money. If at this point they're trying to save whatever money that they can,
because they already lost money for 4 months during the pandemic. They already lost money for 4 months straight during the pandemic. So you know how much TV money they're gonna lose if they can't. What TV money they're gonna lose from TNT, from Fox Sports Net, and from NBA TV if they don't have the Lakers and the Clippers.
I tell you what I appreciate about this, because people accuse these athletes of being selfish and self-centered. Don't nobody have more to lose than these two teams. Okay, these are the two favorites. You got two players that could establish their legacy by leading 3 different teams to a championship here. So it's not like players with nothing to lose. You know, legacy is big with players, but these boys really putting it on the line. Like, fuck it, this just one championship. And with LeBron every year counts. LeBron 35 years old, so it's not like LeBron got a guaranteed more 5 years in the league.
Right.
So
I think also the reason why the board is rushing to have this meeting now is because the rest of the sports world is now looking at the NBA. Because if they are not able to have this resolve and partner, who's to say then the NFL, baseball.
And just like with this, all you got to have is 2 of the big market teams pull out. All you got to have is the Dodgers and the Yankees say no. Your season is a wrap.
Right. What kind of season you gonna have with no Dodgers?
And right now, they're the 2 favorites. And trust me, they definitely want a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. So I mean, like I said, it's understanding your leverage play, and then look, this is what we want, you know.
But
I'm behind the players. Look, I'm behind the players, and I support them all the way. And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the LA teams. And speaking of which, I want to get into this. Ice Cube, his contract with Black America, and he was talking about withholding the vote. until we got more out of the Biden and Harris campaign. I feel like he was only really talking to the Democrats because I didn't hear any mention of him saying we should get more out of the Trump campaign if they are to win. Like, so I want to talk about this weird. I want to talk about this. How do I say this? I want to talk about this use of only holding one side accountable while absolving the other side and letting them get away with murder. While and again, I'm not saying that the Democrats do right by black people at all. I just want to understand this mentality that we hold everything over the Democrats' head, but don't hold anything over the Republicans' head, or don't even call the Republicans to task. So I want to talk about that under the conversation of, you know, Ice Cube and the not voting for the withholding your vote. Who want to go first?
I'll go first. Briefly. I think it's programming that people feel that way to the same degree where you saw how hard mostly black people were publicly attacking Kamala Harris when she first got the nomination. Now she's standing on a ticket with between Pence, Toupee Fiasco, and even Biden. They've done way more than Kamala could have possibly even come close to. But all of a sudden, you have all this outrage because people have programmed to put women at a different standard. And not only just women, black women at an even harsher standard, to where we have to almost be pristine to get to that situation. You saw even President Barack Obama to get to where he was, he had to be pristine. He couldn't. I remember them attacking this dude and it being news for a week when he wore a beige suit. He wore a beige suit. Michelle Obama showed up sleeveless, and that was newsworthy. Like, that was something they were outraged by. And we can pull up Melania's titties right now, and nobody's saying anything. It's a totally separate set of there's a totally separate standard that has been programmed that most people are just not aware of. And we just have to focus on calling it out when you see it, making sure that people, like, because you can have receipts so easily now, like when the day and age of social media and the internet, you can pull up these comparisons and it's not even really up for debate with any logical person. Key there, if you're talking to a logical person. But it's just like I'm with Ice Cube. I think that I think the plan is very well laid out. What I'm not with Ice Cube on is his timing. You knew this election was coming for 4 years. Why are you talking to me about this in August of 2020? Why did you not bring this up in August of 2019 at least? If we want to talk about holding black folks vote hostage, I think that there's something to that. I agree completely. But to come up with it a couple of months before the election, that timing just feels very screwy to me. Right. Just like the timing of Psycho West coming out talking about he's running for president. The timing. And then he straight out admitted, hey, I'm just here to, pretty much mess up Biden's vote. And people are still with it. There's an attack again on morality right now. There's an attack on logic. There's an attack on reality. And although it's exhausting for us to fight, we have to stay in a position to where we battle all of these weird and crazy things and these double standards with straight up facts and showing people directly where, this doesn't make sense anymore. Right. It's going to be a very difficult job, but that's something that we just have to work at doing.
Yeah. Sheila, you said something that was very, to me, very impactful and very powerful in the sense that why is it that you're bringing this up now, 2 months ahead of an election, where the presentation is, Democrats, if you want our vote, this is what you need to do. Okay. We don't necessarily have that luxury considering what is on the other side and what it is that we stand to not just lose, but be put back even further with an idiot given 4 more years. I think more so than anything, it needs to be something ongoing, not necessarily a timing only when there's an election, but continuous conversation, continuous push. Just like how, people are now learning that every 2 years there are these, these other elections outside of the presidential elections. There needs to be that constant push, not just on a grand scheme, but also on a local scheme, where to ensure that, hey, if you're not doing what we ask of you, then we can flip the cord and get behind someone else. But at the same time, to also ensure that the other side, whether it's a Republican, whether it's independent or what, but also say, okay, build that in a sense. There are Republicans that are not going to switch, but get viable Republican candidates that understand what it is that we need, what it is that we're willing to fight for. And then you can then start to leverage the voting of what is best for us. Like, we have to really be strategic, very smart, intelligent, at the same time, cold-hearted about this shit.
Agreed.
Ron?
Well, I mean, just to be frank, I agree with Cube. And I just wanted to address a couple of things Sheila mentioned, like why now? I think with COVID and with us all being sort of locked in our house, we're getting a lot of people who didn't have time before now have a lot more time to kind of sit, think, strategize, plan. I would ask, why haven't the Democrats or Black people in the Democratic Party come up with this Black plan for America before? I would flip it on them, not on Cube. And again, Cube's an entertainer, so I don't really lean on our entertainers to be our voice. But for him to work with, I think it's a doctor or a professor who helped create this document, the Contract with Black America. You guys go check it out, cwba.world. But within that contract, and sort of my stance with Cube is that we have to hold the people we side with accountable. We can't hold Republicans accountable if we're not Republicans. So the reality is that if we're going to work with the Democrats, this is something that we need to address. Could he have done it sooner? Of course. Why he did it this late, I don't know. But the reality is the message is accurate, that we actually need Joe Biden to sign the contract with Black America. And we're not asking Joe Biden to tackle every item that's on that thing. If he can knock off 3 of those items in one term, I'm willing to roll with the Democrats in the next term. You knock 3 more off, because there had to be at least 20. I don't know, Dan, you read it too. There had to be at least about 20 items on that list of things that need to be corrected. But I'm just talking about the basic stuff. Let's get more funding in our education in our community. And I know that has a lot more to do with the local levels and the things that go on in our local politics. But if he can get something from that side that says, you know what, we've at least read your contract with Black America.
Sure.
We think it's great. I actually have things on my website that reflect the exact same thing you're trying to get accomplished here. Like, at least acknowledge it. Like, I've seen it. Then we can start saying, you know what, okay, he's listening. And I think Cube sort of had, and the reason I can side with Cube a little bit more is because I was in that same space he was in, where it's just like, there's no answer, and when you don't see an answer, you kind of just give up. And so he's not necessarily giving up, but his thing is that we have no choice. So at this point, it's up to us to push the people that we do see that align with our beliefs and our sort of our positions, and hold them accountable. Will that happen? I'm not sure. Would it be great to see Kamala and Biden sort of acknowledge that it exists? Hey, we've read it. We get what you're asking for. We'll do our best if we're put in position to do it. We're not going to sign anything, because legally we can't bind ourselves to things we can't, guarantee. But it's something that for us that we just need to hear. We need to hear that people are listening to us, that they're not just listening to the people that are in their general circle, telling them about their own personal beliefs. That contract with Black America is for everyone Black, for our children, for our grandparents, for everyone that it has to sort of be in this place that we're in this country. And so with what Cube said, I would just say I back the destination. I'm not even clear on the how what car we're driving to get there. But what I say is it's time, and I'm sure Cube wasn't prepared, because we saw the interview with April, where he kind of got railroad, not railroaded. He kind of was in a position to answer things he's just not qualified to answer. And so it always kind of it always kind of just sticks out to me when we were having entertainers speak on our behalf, and they will not go to the people, the Dr. Claude or all the people who are qualified that have actually been in politics. They just will not ask them anything, but we'll go right to our entertainers who I assume have influence. They influence children and people that listen to their music, and so it just shows that ultimately the Democrats have proven that they rely on our vote, but they also know we have no choice. And so they're using that to their advantage. And so if we're going to be strategic, like I've chosen to be this voting term, so even regardless of what Cube said, that doesn't change my mind. I'm still voting for Biden. I want to get Trump out of the office, but I also see the bigger picture, which is that, you have covert racists that what we can use in this analogy as the Democrats, and then you have overt racists. I've always been the type, I prefer overt racists. And so, because I want you to be out and open with how you feel. So that doesn't mean I like it. Right. I have no problem with that. That's how you feel. You stay on your side. I'll stay on my side. But all this, hey, we do all this voting. We get Kamala to be the VP. And then we get in office and now the excuses start. That's not going to fly with me. And I'm telling people now, if I'm voting and who I vote for, because see, I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary. So I have nothing to say about politics over these last 4 years. I may have to deal with the reality of those politics, but I have nothing to say. But I can damn sure best believe that once I vote this November, I'm going to have a lot of shit to say. And I might even be writing the White House. I may be writing Biden letters, trying to get, things of that nature, because I did what I consider is my choice and my duty. Now I expect you to fulfill your role. And I don't want to hear shit about, well, Trump, because of Trump, we can't do that. The Trump didn't give two shits about what you can't do. He just did it. So we need a gangster go in there just like Trump and be just as much of a boss as Trump. Let's turn tables over to be like Jesus going into the where the tax guys were. Let's turn some tables over. Let's get some shit done, because what we've been doing for 400 years hasn't been working. And until this country makes amends for its biggest sin, there ain't shit gonna go right. Just like Silly told him, until you do right by me, ain't shit gonna go right for this country. That's just the reality of it. We're cursed. We're cursed. And I know Quincy's gonna come in here with the logic, and he has all the great facts and all. But just hear me out quick, because he does the research, all this stuff. So I'm kind of like halfway involved in politics. Reason. Bring all your facts and all that shit. You know how I'm speaking as a Republican today. Bring all your damn facts and all that shit. And reason. Sure. All the shit I have. Yeah, all the shit I haven't come to yet. But being around and talking with Quincy, I'm getting there. But we just have to see that we need to demand something for our vote, and that doesn't mean don't vote. That just means we need to hold our people accountable. And I could care less what the Republicans do on that end. Just to be honest with you, because we see their message. I can't even watch that shit for 1 minute.
No, that take actually makes sense though. Your take actually, your take is the first one I heard that actually makes sense. All right. Quincy, and go.
Yeah. Go with the facts. Bring all them facts and shit. But Quincy's that's a good brother there, man.
I actually agree with Ron, because there's nothing wrong with holding people you support accountable, and so I agree with all that. But Ice Cube, this is my problem with Ice Cube, because I think he was fucking being reckless, believe it or not. Because if you're gonna speak out and you got all these people you could impact, I need you to know your shit. So you up there, you present a financial plan, and then somebody tell you, oh, your financial plan is similar to Joe Biden's. And then you don't know what the fuck to say because you didn't do the research. Right. So here you are, you leading these masses of people about holding your vote hostage, and come to find out your financial plan that you're selling is similar to Joe Biden's. Do your research, know your shit before you start speaking out and leading people to possibly not voting. Then he doesn't understand the concept of why a non-vote is a vote for Trump. If you don't vote, there's a reason why they're trying to suppress the vote. So if you don't vote, you just one less vote they have to suppress. Now, I agree with Sheila. I think the timing is everything. Last August, we had multiple candidates that had a black agenda. we had multiple candidates that talked about reparations. Where the fuck was Ice Cube? Did he like skip the whole primary?
Because that Crip walking with Dub C. Where you think he was?
There were multiple people with a much better black agenda than Joe Biden.
Right.
I agree with that. I can't argue that.
And what Ice Cube could have did is presented that contract in the beginning of the primaries and said, hey, out of you 30 candidates, who gonna sign this shit before we vote for you in the primary?
Boom.
Now that I would have been 100% behind it. I would have got it because throughout the primaries, what did you hear? Black people are the backbone of the Democratic Party.
Oh, hold on, real quick. Hold on. Quincy, real quick. I want to, because Pandora said history doesn't prove that a non-vote. So let me tell you how it does. If the Democrats have a low voter turnout, it's historically always a Republican win. Historically, a Republican win every time there's low voter turnout. You can go check if you don't believe me. Anytime there's low Democrat voter turnout, it's going to be a Republican win. Any high voter turnout, high on both sides, high on Republican and it's a Democrat win. I just wanted to say that. And let me say this, because I see a lot of people in the comments, because this is something I want to address personally. A lot of people in the comments talking about, do the Dems really give a fuck about us outside our vote? I want to address this too. Trump exposed how much of a boss Obama wasn't. Okay, let's go to regular civics. Anybody who knows what Trump was up against was Mitch McConnell saying, no matter what Obama puts through this floor, we're not going to pass it.
Hey, people don't even realize that Obama had one of the best criminal justice reform bills set up, but you never heard about it. Why? Because the Republicans told them, don't even bother sending that shit here. Don't waste your time. We're not passing nothing.
So I need us to educate. Yeah, I need to educate ourselves when we say shit like that. Like Trump gets to do all this bullshit he got to do because he got a Republican Senate behind him. Because the Republicans care about midterms, Democrats don't.
Did Obama ever have that in his 8-year term?
He had his first 2 years. In his first 2 years, he was cleaning up. First of all, the recession. Remember the first 2 years,
right?
He was bringing us out of a fucking recession.
And he had 2 wars in a recession.
Right. And that's the other thing. It's like, don't say, someone isn't a boss when you don't understand the fact of what the fuck he was doing from the cleaning up the recession against both a House and a Senate against him.
Yeah. So
history doesn't. Are you serious?
Like
we're wasting energy on this.
Reading is fundamental.
And you know what? And I just want to say this. I want to say this because anybody who wants to talk about historically what the Democrats are doing, I want to talk about what the Democrats are doing at this moment. Okay, let's do this. Let's talk about what the Democrats are doing at this moment. At this moment, on the Republican side, on the Republican side, we have 90% white cabinet, 90% white staff, 100% executive staff under Trump. This is facts. On Biden's side, you have a chance to have a black vice president. I don't care how the fuck you feel about it. It's a black vice president. You could have a black vice president, a black woman in the Supreme Court, a black woman who's going to be the press secretary, first ever black press secretary in the White House. The Biden party actually does have a plan for black people because black people keep saying Biden has no policy or no plan for us. That's just a lie. You can literally go to his website. Yeah, go to his site and look at Lift Every Voice. If you agree or disagree with it, that's a different thing. But to say there is no plan for black people, that's just a flat out.
Yeah. Now it's one thing to say that you don't like their plan. It's another thing to say that they don't have a plan. Because you know who don't have a plan? Fucking Republicans. Like
they don't need one. Yeah, racist and put fear, show fear.
They don't need the black vote. The only thing they just need you to do is not to vote. Because Republicans have admitted low voter turnout, they lose. They have said that. I think Trump even admitted that shit about 3-4 months ago. They're not trying to suppress the black vote for nothing. But let me finish my point on Ice Cube.
Yeah, go ahead.
That to me, I mean, Dan, you talked about this.
Hold on. Wait. Don't do that shit, Pandora. She said, I forgot we can't critique Black Jesus. Nobody on this show has critiqued Obama more than me. So don't come here doing that bullshit.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna cut that shit right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
critique him all the time.
Yeah, we all critique Obama all the time. So I'm talking about
Obama definitely been critiqued on this show.
Yeah, so don't do that shit. Go ahead, Quincy, finish.
so my thing, and Dame, you talked about this last week where you was trying to explain to someone in our PAR meeting that you have to be very strategically when you're trying to change a racist system. And for whatever reason, dude wasn't getting the concept. And that's the same thing with this situation with Ice Cube. I think the plan is great. The contract is fine. But like I said, when you can impact the masses of vote, your timing is everything. And I would have loved to see if he came with this last August when everybody was talking about reparations and all that, who really would have signed this contract throughout the primary. Because in the end, the way how I see it, I didn't vote for Biden. All right? I didn't vote for Biden. But you know what? Black people voted for Biden. So that's who we decided to go with. The only thing he should
Black
be
people.
Yeah, so that's who we're gonna go with. So now we in the general election. The only thing he should be dealing with right now is trying to get independents to come over. Our mind of who we wanted should have been determined in the primary when we decided to save Joe Biden's campaign because he was about to call it. He was about to call his campaign.
And I think Bernie was actually going to be able to get it.
Yeah, and that was my vote. I know a couple of people voted for Elizabeth. I voted for Bernie. But my folks decided to say, "Hey, we're gonna go with Joe Biden." Okay, cool. That's who we're gonna go with. To me, it's irresponsible now. Like Sheila said, we fucking less than 90 days before the war, head up with a fucking white supremacist to decide, you know what? I don't know if we want this right now. You got to do what we say. Because now we don't really have that much leverage. Our leverage play was during the primary. Our next leverage play would be get Biden and Harris in and then say, hey, you know what? This is what we're looking for. If you don't do what we tell you to do, then fuck re-election. You won't see us. And you know what? If any black person say, hey, you know what? Biden and Harris didn't come through for us, so I'm not voting this time, you won't hear a word out my mouth.
Right.
Because
it seems like a really good strategy to implement with what you guys are all talking about, what we're all talking about, basically. I think it would be great if we could implement a way or like a black people check-in. And we have online access to each other. There's no reason not to quarterly. Because I don't want people to get through this election. Let's say Biden wins and then we just go sit down somewhere. We need to be checking in. Hey, what's getting done quarterly, not even yearly. Every 3 months, we're like, what's going on? Okay, what's the progress on what we've asked for? Okay, so that by the time we even get 2 years in, we have been keeping tabs on this. And when it gets to those next elections in 2 years, we know which way we need to go with it. We know who we need to pick because we have not only a clear idea of what we want, but we've been keeping track of who's doing what we want.
Yeah, but also, as far as ICU contract, I would like to see more stuff in there. And Dame said that he mentioned that there does need to be some stuff in there more regarding black women.
There's nothing in there about black women.
There's nothing in that contract in there about black women. You're talking about the most educated group and the most underpaid group of people is black women. There's nothing in that contract about that. Also,
the biggest voting block is black women. So if you
mean there's something specific for black women outside of black people?
Yes. Yeah, it needs to be done because it's not like black men are not misogynists. We have that group. That's why Trump get 12% of black men vote. because of that group. So we have that element to a point in our culture where black women tend to get drowned out in that. So
isn't that all Black Lives Matter though?
No.
Isn't that the equivalent of all Black Lives Matter?
Hell no.
Because it's still stuff in there for the rest of us, but you got the most educated group of people who is the most underpaid. That shit don't make sense. That needs to be addressed. Also, there need to be stuff in there about hey, you know what? We would like this person to be our attorney general. Shit, that's the head law enforcement person. So I mean, we got him to get the pick a black female VP. Let's not stop right there. Hey, this who we want to be the top cop in the country, since we are the ones mostly affected by the bullshit. So we would like this person to be the attorney general, you know. But as far as our leverage play, now that he's head up with Trump, somebody who's really relying on us not to vote. I think our next leverage play is get them in. The next level play would be the midterm, because we got to make sure they can't do shit without a Senate in the Congress. I mean, a House.
Yeah, to be Obama all over again.
Yeah, right. It's pretty much Obama all over again. And then you know what? Once we able to get them the right sources, the right resources to move the way that they should be able to move, they don't do what they want. Then if black folks say, hey, you know what? Fuck this. We're not gonna vote in 2024. I won't say a damn thing. Can't blame them.
And that's my side, Q, is that, we have to come together. I didn't want to vote this time. I didn't want to sort of get back into the pot. But I said, in order for me to basically have a word to say to my people that do choose that route, I have to concede something. So as a whole, we need to start conceding more with each other because we're always holding each other like to a standard that no one else on earth is ever held to.
Well, no, we hold each other to a standard that we don't even hold other people who treat us like shit to.
Right. Or ourselves. We don't even hold ourselves to these standards, but we want to hold someone else to. So it's time for my woke folks, my hoteps, my ice cubes, my entertainers, anyone else that was on the side that I sort of leaned to before, to say, you know what? All right, we lost our choice at this point. Once we got Trump in, once we didn't vote when Hillary was there, and we let Trump get in office, now we have Trump. We've seen what he's done. Now it's time to concede something. I mean, because
the crazy thing is, I don't think we end up here if we did vote Hillary in, honestly, because Hillary would have been business as usual. So I'm honestly like, I get why it's almost like
Trump like I forgot one of the sayings, but Trump is really showing America's naked ass.
Yeah,
right. And Trump's ass.
Yeah, and it needed to be shown. It needed to be shown that what this country is, because like I mentioned on the post, he didn't create racism, but he took the filter off this motherfucker
and amplified the fuck out of it.
He amplified it. He has a still bonus, like someone mentioned earlier.
Glass.
Like somebody mentioned earlier in the show, that they don't care. They have cameras because they have got the green light
from the top.
Hey, you remember 90 days ago, he said once the looting starts, the shooting starts. You remember?
He didn't know where the hell that came. He didn't know where that came from.
Yeah.
I want to address this. She said, "I have no confidence we will continue to apply pressure once they're in." So I have faith that
Pandora, we gonna do that.
Well, right, like because we have
to.
We're
gonna make it the norm.
Well, yeah, we
exactly.
have. Well, not only that, but look, if you got people like Stacey Abrams in that cabinet, if you got people like Simone Sanders, if you like, there's black women outside of Kamala Harris. There's black for real black women who are in there. Who, if I don't believe in nobody in this country, I believe in black women.
Wait. Y'all think Biden sound like
They've
this?
earned that right.
Wait, y'all think Biden became this way on his own?
Hell no. Hell no.
Trust me. And the reason why I don't necessarily trust Biden, but what I do trust is that he's actually listening, and I can tell that he's listening. I mean,
you read the tea leaves.
No, I will actually say I do trust Biden because of the decision making that he's making to surround himself with strong black women.
Yeah.
Did he have a choice though? I mean, we always come back to that. When you say that, I would always ask. Did he have a choice?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Would we have been as pumped had he not chosen a black woman?
I say that I think Biden, because you remember when he first came out, and I posted the article, he really wanted Michelle. Michelle
was like, I don't want nothing.
Oh shit! Well, he got my vote instantly with Michelle.
Michelle, I shared the article. Michelle was his original plan, and then I'm sure he knows probably better than most of us. She hates politics.
Right.
She like the hell with that shit.
Because it would have been undisputed if he would have gotten
Hey,
that's
8 years in that White House will run you ragged.
I think the Obama, being around Obama, change. If you go look at Biden's perspective on shit before Obama and look at it after Obama, you can see the influence where
spoke some wisdom into him.
Yeah, and also he definitely became a lot more comfortable with black people apparently, because you know.
We good folk if you give us a chance. I mean, it's what we're trying to tell America. Like, shit, we're funny. We can sing too. Shit.
Because
everybody love us.
Because down to him selecting his VP, if you look at the way how Kamala came at him, that's how Biden came at Obama.
Mm-hmm.
So the person that came at him the hardest, he didn't afraid from it. He didn't hold it against her. He was like, okay, this is who I want to fuck with. Well, that's kind of what Obama did with him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Where you remember Hillary had took it. You remember people wanted him to pick Hillary, but you remember the Clintons started shitting on Obama. Once Obama went after Hillary doing
the primaries.
The primary, because he told her, you voted for that war with Bush. I didn't. And Hillary got caught up in her feelings. So I think Biden has kind of taken somewhat of Obama's playbook. And I'm hoping that he continue on that path, because you remember this 4 years would be a lot about getting setting
Kamala up for the next
Kamala up to be our next president, because I don't think Joe Biden is going to be a 2-term president.
I don't either.
You keep saying 4 years. I think it's 2 years. I think because everything in which he said, like,
you think he's gonna step down?
No, not so much step down, but they have 2 years to really implement everything to ensure that they have a strong hold of not just the House but the Senate. It's not 4 years; it's 2 years.
Right.
I
think the difference is that, but in the past we had always been programmed to not pay attention to politics. Right. And I don't think that's something that any of us who have sense will ever go back to again in life. We will always be aware of the politics here. And that's going to make a big difference in how we vote and how we hold people accountable going forward.
Watch what you say, Sheila, because you know Trump going to record what you just said. See what I did for my black people? I got them interested in politics. He going to take credit for all of that. I think you're on mute, Dan.
My bad.
All right.
Yeah, Pandora said Kamala aligns more with his platform, which I think she does. But like Quincy said, they had a whole lot of disagreements, and she came at him hard. She the one who knocked him off of his shit the most in the Democratic debate.
She got on his shit for a line with segregationists.
Yeah.
Which nobody else wanted to touch.
Right.
But that's why I say I think the black women that he's putting around him are black women that are going to hold him to account. Because if there's nobody else, I don't even think black men would hold him to account the way black women will. Like black women around him, and like I said, the particular black women that's around him, the black women like Stacey Abrams, Keisha Lance Bottoms, Karen Bass, like those are real black women who have came up through the trenches that are very smart, very intelligent problem solvers. So if he has those black women around, I trust that over any Trump administration that he's putting together any day.
Black women have earned the right and have proven they have the stronger backbone than black men. I mean, that's just hands down.
And better decision making, just better decision making. Like, so that's what I'm saying. So if you say you don't like Quincy said, if you say you don't trust Biden, cool. Trust the black women that he got around him, because they earned that.
And that's what I'm banking on.
Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they at least earned at as hard as it is for a black woman to get in Simone Sanders' position, hard as it is for a black woman to get in Kamala Harris' position, hard as it is for a black woman to get in Stacey Abrams' position. I feel like we got to ride with them, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
I'm getting in line, single file line.
Then we can have a different conversation later. But right now, any other conversation is just not going to be productive.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we should leave it right there. Shit.
Not much more you can say.
not much more you can say. Hey, that was a great show, man. I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank everybody in the comments, everybody who shared. If there's anything y'all want to talk about, again, y'all know how we do. Hit me on the inbox. We'll talk about it. If there's anything you want to discuss about any political things or anything in general, hit me on my personal page or hit the Uncouth page, and we'll make sure we'll talk about it. We appreciate everybody who rocking with us. We appreciate everybody who disagree with us and still watch the show. I think it's dope. We don't have to always agree, but I think we want to get to a place where we figure out how to do dope shit together to get to that next step. And again, one more time, shout out to the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers for making that big, bold move, doing some real gangster shit. We behind y'all. We behind the NBA and everybody who want to do the right thing. All right, y'all. Until next time. I know you missed it, Laura.
This is the only time I'm rooting.
This is the only time I'm rooting for the Clippers ever.
Clippers, man.
All right, y'all. Until next time, we out of here.
Peace.